Live-action reproductions of animated hits continue apace despite the patchy track record. It seems a point of principle for Disney in particular to remake all of them, despite most people with any taste begging them not to. But their argument is hard to refute. Sometimes these things make a fortune.
Everything we know about dragons is wrong.
The reign of the dragons! It's right here, right now!
While Snow White, Dumbo and Pinocchio failed to fly, this year's Lilo and Stitch, against all odds, has been a massive hit, despite being a totally unnecessary carbon copy of a relatively recent original. The original was directed by a lively duo called Dean DeBlois and Chris Sanders, who went on to make another massive success for DreamWorks, How to Train Your Dragon.
They've killed hundreds of us!
And we've killed thousands of them!
Dragon was nominated for 2 Oscars in 2011, and Dean DeBlois went on to make 2 sequels, the last in 2019. So why, a mere 6 years later, has he made a live-action version of the first film? I have no idea. Judging by the trailers, it's pretty much the same movie.
I'm the first Viking who wouldn't kill a dragon.
First to ride one, though.
All right, bud, you ready?
The justification of past remakes was that the originals were mostly old-fashioned pen and paintbrush animation, and modern audiences preferred the digital 3D variety, the sort Pixar had made so popular. But How to Train Your Dragon was already digital, and how different are the digital effects of this movie from the digital animation of the first film?
You have something none of us have.
In fact, the similarities between the two movies far outnumber any differences. Same writer-director, Dean DeBlois, same design and same big star. Gerard Butler played Viking chief Stoick in both movies. We open on a village of Vikings who live next door to a village of hostile dragons.
We're all descendants of the finest dragon fighters from everywhere the Vikings ever travelled.
The one difference in this version is the Vikings are a wee bit more diverse looking than last time. There's a Chinese Viking, an African Viking, Latino Vikings, and yes, a strapping Maori Viking played by Julian Dennison.
These beasts are a threat to all of our lands. It's time, Hiccup.
Our spindly hero Hiccup has been something of a disappointment to his father the chief because of his lack of interest in dragon killing. But comes the time when even Hiccup has to go to dragon slaying school along with his mates led by the feisty Astrid.
But I'm just excited to see some real, live dragons up close. You know, I could do without the permanent injuries and...
Oh, where's the glory in that?
Yeah, it's only fun if you get a scar out of it.
I know, right? Pain. Love it. Oh, great. I'll let him in.
After a bad time at dragon school, Hiccup wanders among the fjords where he suddenly finds a young wounded black dragon. This strikes him as a good one to practice on.
I have to kill you. I will, because I'm a Viking. Hear that? I'm a Viking!
But to his shame, he just can't do it. And to his surprise, the dragon, a weird cross between a black panther and a gigantic tadpole, takes a liking to him. So Hiccup tends the dragon's wounds and calls him Toothless.
It's okay. I won't hurt you.
Hiccup hides toothless from the village and in his spare time trains his dragon in the fine art of flying. This is clearly not something you can keep to yourself for long, particularly not from someone as sharp as his dragon school rival Astrid. Astrid is far less dragon-friendly than Hiccup. We're Vikings, she says. Vikings kill dragons. End of story.
Maybe they're not as bad as we think they are.
In case you forgot, our parents' war is about to become ours. Figure out which side you're on.
And the story, based on a series of English children's books by Cressida Cowell, continues from there. If you haven't seen the original film, I hadn't, it seems a good enough tale, well told, until you see any footage from the original, which is clearly superior.
Toothless, no! He's a friend! You all need to see this. I'm not one of them.
Live action, particularly live action blended with digital effects, is frankly a lot busier and more chaotic than pure animation, which has the luxury of selecting what it needs. This is particularly noticeable when it's fast cuts of dragons milling around a bunch of hairy Vikings and massive film crews milling around the new giant sets to make it happen.
What's up to us?
Us?
Stick with me.
All right, bud, you ready?
So much is added to make a live-action remake of a well-loved story, particularly so much money on sets, effects, and later a massive publicity campaign. But in fact, all the good things about How to Train Your Dragon were already there, surely. The only thing missing in its revival was the one thing that a copy can never produce: originality.
Wow, you've lost everything. Your father, your tribe, your best friend. What are you gonna do about it?
Probably something stupid.
Well, you've already done that.